Executive session, specially called meeting.
So moved.
There's a motion by Ms. Glass. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Okay, just 1 second. Let me get logged into KSBA. Okay, let's call this meeting of the Woodford County Board of Education on July 18th, 2022 to order. We are happy to be at Safe Harbor tonight. Looking forward to hearing from Mr. Culbertson about the good things happening here. Let the attendance record show that there are 4 board members present. Ms. Springate is absent, and she sent an email that she asked me to read. Let me bring that up. She says, I apologize for not being able to attend either of the meetings this evening. With the date and time changes, I was not able to make it work with my schedule. I pride myself on attending board meetings and representing my constituents. The July meeting was changed unexpectedly last week. I had hoped I would be able to rearrange my schedule today, but unfortunately that was not possible. Given the important items on tonight's agenda, I regret that I'm unable to attend. Thank you, Sherry. And I would note that this meeting date was changed a week ago to give ample notice to all board members. Now, if you'll stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Are there any proposed amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report. First item is your remarks, Mr. Adkins.
Well, I want to first start off with talking about our high school project and how exciting that is. And I know I'm probably stealing some thunder because I'd like to think that everyone here would have that as their good news report. Simply because it is so exciting. It's a historical day in Woodford County. I think somebody give me a date on the last high school? I think it's 58 years or something. Was it 64?
The old high school was opened when Lyndon Johnson was president. I believe it opened in 1965.
That's been a few minutes ago. So this past 2 weeks, I think this board has stepped forward and again made Woodford County history. So that's just such an exciting project. We had an opportunity to go down. We shared some numbers at the last board meeting that were discussed as to what some costs could possibly be. We had an opportunity to go down to Baird and watch the bond sale, where we really got a great rate for our bond sale, which it's going to allow us to do more things for kids. We had our bids come in. Hats off to Trace Creek with that. Did a lot of work. I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of $380 to $385. Christian County came in last week at a little over $500 a square foot. So we've been very fortunate. I think that's a testament to the work they've done pre-bid to be able to get those bids to where we needed them to be able to move forward with our project. Can't say enough about Ross Tarrant. Those guys have been great. There's not been anything we can't reach out to them for that they haven't gotten to us. So it's been a great team effort, and this board has really done the right thing for kids. With that being said, we'll talk a little bit about summer school. We have had 140 kids over there right now at the middle school, which is where we're having our summer school. I think I'm going over Thursday with popsicles. That's the last day. I did that last year. I was able to do that last year, so I'll get to go over again this year and share some popsicles. I think I got a tattoo last year. It was my first tattoo. I was a little uneasy about it, but it was okay. It didn't hurt too bad. And with that being said, just to go ahead and publicly announce this, I'm sure that it has kind of made it around the community, but Mr. Jake Bell has agreed to be our interim principal throughout this school year. That'll give us an opportunity to find the right fit for our high school. So very exciting time here in Woodford County. But that's what I have to report on, Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adkins. The next item on the agenda is the good news report. Ms. Richardson, do you want to start?
I'm just excited about the new school year that's getting ready to start. This is going to be the first year in almost 20 years that I don't have a student starting on the first day. It's kind of like vacation, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, I'm just excited about that. I'm excited to hear that Dr. Bell is coming back to the high school this year. It'll be a smooth transition for everybody. And that's it. I hope they have a great new school year.
Just to, I guess, echo a little bit what Mr. Adkins was saying, how thrilled I am that the high school project is moving forward. It was super exciting and very gracious of Baird to have us last week for the bond sale, and for all the other folks that attended. So just glad that we can get that moving forward for our kids and just moving in the right direction.
I would agree with that. I think, as Mr. Adkins indicated, Christian County bid their project, and my heart breaks for their kiddos. They're trying to do good things there, and I am very grateful for the decision that we made to pair a construction manager with our architect for the whole development of the project. I think having that provide kind of like a check and balance really made a difference in our project. I think architects get to dream about what spaces could possibly be, and sometimes construction managers kind of provide that balance on, hey, let's look at it if we do this, and that kind of, in my opinion, made the difference on this project being realized this year. And I'm grateful to Ross Tarrant, to Trace Creek, and to Baird for being partners on this throughout the process that has been bumpy, but in the long run, I think it's going to be great for our students and staff and the whole community. And I think we have some exciting alternates to discuss on the project tonight that are more than we had hoped that we could do. And I think that the community has said to all of us, I know I've heard from a lot of different constituents how excited they are about the project and being able to add in some of the outdoor athletic facilities that we had hoped we would be able to realize and now know that we can. So that's for sure my good news for the month.
Yeah, I would agree. I received a lot of really positive feedback after the votes last week. I'm thrilled at the possibility of a new high school. I'm extra thrilled that my son my youngest will likely be in the first graduating class from that high school, and I think there's a few others in here that will have as well. My good news report, I was actually at the high school last week for the soccer meeting, and it was really nice to see the school full at that time with volleyball, basketball, football, all the different sports were meeting, and the school was actually very filled. The kids were happy, laughing, having fun, and I think that's the best thing that you want to see when you walk into the school. So I'm excited for the new school year, excited for the high school, and thank you to Mr. Culbertson for having us today. It's my first time here at Safe Harbor, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
And the other thing I want to add to the good news report is that we are excited, as long as everything holds the way it has, we're excited to be able to invite our parents back into schools this year to volunteer and kind of be able to be seen and be with their kids in ways that we haven't for the last few years. I know that's a big thing for families, and I'm very happy that we're going to be able to have a normal year for our students and families again. The next item on the agenda is the instructional and equity update. Mr. Asher?
I get to sit today, I guess. Good evening, thank you. As we approach, I guess, middle to late July, two things I'd like to report on are summer school, just to elaborate a little bit on what Mr. Atkins said, and then also our professional development as we gear up for the next school year, as you mentioned. Summer school, elementary and middle will continue through this week. Thursday, as he had mentioned, is their field day, popsicles and fun games to close out a very successful summer. Attendance has been down from June, but that is typical. That's the same report we share basically every year. July is more of a time for trips and different things that keep them away from regular attendance, but they continue to use incentives. I know at the elementary level they're doing some sort of pin Disney World style. You can gain pins each day or each week that you attend, so that's a motivation for them. High school ended their second phase of summer school just last Friday, so they're working on closing out grading and in terms of work completion and grades, credits that they've attained through both phase 1 in June and phase 2 in July. So overall, another successful summer program, just keeping students engaged, allowing them to earn credit, and just keeping them connected to the school. So hats off to the summer school crew. Again, I said this last summer, it's awesome how we host it all on one site, and it's a big collaborative effort, one big Woodford team of everyone working together, particularly for our elementary students, so that's great. Let me talk about professional development, PD, as we call it. Next week is a big week for our admin team. We'll be doing our leadership retreat in Louisville as we typically do, starting there on Tuesday, and then roll into the CASA conference, Kentucky Association of School Administrators. Most principals and assistants will stay through the week for that, so we've got an exciting agenda planned. We do have some new team members to our admin team, so one of our main things we're focused on is team building and just getting to know each other and our strengths and how those can play together for the good of the team. The following week, which will be August 1, that's really when your school level PD picks up. As well as some district-sponsored PD. Our new teacher orientation, which always kicks off the week, is August 1st. And then the schools, as I mentioned, will be doing their individual professional developments that they have planned. So that's the two main items on instruction. Let me go ahead to equity, and then I'll open for questions. We had our summer meeting with our district-level team last Monday. Mr. Atkins was able to join us. We had good attendance overall. Had it over lunch, so that probably helped. But we reviewed plans rolling into this next year that I've reviewed with you before for 22-23. Overall, we're looking to expand our membership, not only at district level, but have school level teams. Our overall goal as we've worked through that first phase of the Equity Action Plan was to raise awareness. And I think we've done that by, what is implicit bias? What does it mean to be culture responsive? Now that we have that awareness and understanding, now it's time to take more action along those lines. So in increasing our membership is meant to increase our capacity at the school level. So looking forward to that, the next phase of our Equity Action Plan. So that concludes the main reports I had, but I'll open for questions you may have.
We will also be a part of the KDE playbook work. So that's exciting to be a part of that. And a lot of the things, Ryan, that I saw that you guys had already laid out on our equity team fits directly into the pieces that we've been notified that we'll look at as far as the work that we're looking to do.
Yes, that's called the Equity Playbook Project, I think is the term they have for that. I could be wrong. But we'll...
No, I don't.
Not yet.
No, I don't
Not
think
yet.
they've given us one for that
Give
yet.
it time. Give it time. So we got more in-depth information just last week that Mr. Atkins had forwarded to me. We put a team together of about 8 folks from across the district, admin and instructional coaches, assistant principals, eventually on down to teachers. So I like the look of the work and what they have outlined, just preliminary, but I'll update you as we go.
So if you're looking to expand the number on the equity, is it something that you envision down the road to have equity teams at each school?
Yeah, when I say expand, that's exactly the route we want to go. We want to have some turnover on the district team, cycle some folks off, similar to how a site-based committee would
Sure.
operate. But yes, at the same time, a school-level team. When we've been talking about this for a while with the district-level team, we actually did a survey like last week of school. And I was pleasantly surprised, got about 22 responses that said they would be interested. Now that's across all schools, but it broke down to 2 or 3 per school, new recruits that we'll reach out to.
And just for the board members, there is an opening for a board member on the equity committee. If any of you would like to do that, just let me know, and we can arrange that and get you on the invitation list. Any other questions for Mr. Asher? Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate your time. All right, next up we have Logan Culbertson, and he's going to highlight some of the amazing things that they do here at Safe Harbor. And Ms. McHale, you said this is your first visit. It is neat stuff, and I am proud that we have this and that it's something that our community supports the way that they do. And as always, we appreciate Mr. Culbertson's leadership and efforts to make our kids feel loved and supported.
First and foremost, welcome to Safe Harbor. It has been a few years since we've been able to get together, and so I've kind of created just an overview of what the program looks like, some of the ways we serve. But first and foremost, thank you for your leadership and your service to all our young adults. It's a privilege to be able to serve with and for our squad, and to be able to serve our young adults. So thank you. With that said, you're going to see some varied dates, and I'll kind of go through those as we're going. But if you have questions, please feel free to stop me at any time and ask away. There we go. Alrighty, so this first picture is for Amtech, and it's for a previous apprenticeship that we had for a student a couple years ago. And so you're going to see some pictures of current students this past year, but also the past couple of years, because we've not had the opportunity to be able to highlight and celebrate their successes. We're really excited about continuing apprenticeships for our young adults. If a student is interested in college, career, military, going to an apprenticeship, we want to make sure they have a handshake to be able to have those next steps and that plan put into place. And so we're excited about this student. A couple years ago, had this opportunity, is still working for Amtech, and I believe is really close to finishing the training piece of that apprenticeship. And so at that point, we'll be able to continue with Amtech, or be able to go out on his own and hang his own shingle and be a master electrician. We do some collaborations with the Life Adventure Center. Life Adventure Center works on resiliency, and so we build relationships in the classroom. We meet students where they are in the classroom, but being able to transcend environments. So going and putting students in scenarios where they're living outside their comfort zone. They're having to work as a team. They're having to overcome individual or team fears, and bringing that back to conversation and back into the classroom is a purposeful focus that we work on with Life Adventure Center. And so you see a few pictures of some of the opportunities we have to build that resilience.
That middle one doesn't look like an opportunity to me.
That student climbed to the top of that telephone pole and went through every emotion. One, they were thrilled when they got up there, and then they realized they had to come down. And so we had some success and some celebration, and then we had tears and fear, and then we had some shared feelings, and then we had a lot of teamwork and encouragement from the rest of their team, and were able to complete that task.
I was going to ask Mr. Asher if we should expect any trust fall pictures from the team building and the leadership thing, but I think you've provided that now. So
Yeah, just we are going to have Live Adventure Center at our retreat to provide us with some maybe some calming
Some mindfulness
that type of
and
thing. Yeah.
fantastic.
It won't be sitting on top of the building.
They're a fantastic partner, have been with and for our young adults, and so thrilled to be able to continue that opportunity. Safe Harbor Academy, our purpose statement in partnership with young adults, families, and community. Safe Harbor Academy will prepare all students to strive for excellence through rigorous instruction and support to become college, career, and life-ready citizens. We have reworked our PBS anchor standards this year for safe, respectful, and responsible culture. A lot of the things we look at, we use data to drive all our instruction. Our MTSS process, tiers 1 through 3, are things that, one, we want formalized, but we always want to sharpen the saw and revise, because if something's not working, then we need to try something else. We use the PLC process. In the past, have used Read 180, going to be using a different intervention for this coming year, and always want to focus on our 21st century skills. Our Discovery program has been our Tier 1 behavioral focus to be able to support young adults, and here's the subcategories of where we focus those conversations. We modify this every year based off lessons learned and things that we have seen success for our students, and so we will continue to do that for this year as well. We always look for high expectations and rigorous instruction. We want the same experience for students, whether they're here or at the middle school or high school. We want to ensure that we have effective transition program for middle and high school students. With that said, we have students that are placement or application based. Many students come with the thought that they want to transition and decide that they do not want to because they're finding success here, or they're having an experience that maybe they're not able to receive in the traditional environment. So we also serve an ATS function as well. Have not served that the past couple of years due to COVID and having to have a quarantine room. So that will be a transition moving forward as well.
That is coming back?
So that potential to serve is there, and so that program will be something, again, to your point, yes, we haven't been able to serve it, but that is an option.
Great.
This is our flow chart. In the past, we had the night school and the wave as part of the alternative ed umbrella. That is now under the high school, but that same continuum is there. So students are able to transition from the middle school, high school to us, to the night school, to wave, or vice versa. And so those are just conversations where, again, we want to meet students where they are. And so that kind of ebbs and flows based off where we all are as individuals and young adults. So. We have differentiated pathways. We serve all students. Again, have ATS. We have co-op options, technical school options, same as if you're up the street at the high school. We also do NTI and the non-traditional routes, have apprenticeships, and so we want to make sure, again, we're meeting each student where they are. This is a little bit of a repeat here, some of the direct instruction opportunities that we have here. Majority of the students are high school students, though we do have middle school students as well. And with that, we do serve, again, academic and placement. We do serve application and placement. Application-based for 9 through 12 and 6 through 12 for placement needs.
So, Mr. Culbertson, can you explain to the board, this is something that Ms. Richardson and I learned when we joined the board, when we first got to come to Safe Harbor, the application students. So some examples of those students would be kids that maybe find themselves here and find that they thrive in this smaller environment, and that the notion of the 1,200 student high school isn't the right fit for them. Can you explain to Ms. McHale and Ms. Glass kind of how that works?
Sure.
And I think it's something that's not commonly known within our community, the opportunities that exist at Safe Harbor that we don't celebrate as much as we should.
I got you. So we are a 35 student capacity program. Through the application process, students will submit an application. They can either turn it in person here, send it via email, or turn it in there at the high school. It asks for feedback from the administrator as well as from the counseling office. ask for teacher feedback. And really, we set up a screening interview to do just kind of what we're doing now, have a conversation and identify, okay, what things are going well, what are our areas of growth, and we try to be as transparent as possible about this is what we look like, these are the structures that are in place, and try to make sure that, one, they know what we look like and how we can meet them and serve, but also to try to learn and build a relationship so then we can, one, build that trust, but also try to meet where they are, not just for their academic needs, but their social, emotional needs. We have folks that are outside of the district, as such, and this year we're going to have folks inside the district that are going to be able to serve some counseling needs. And I'm not talking about your guidance counselor, but I'm talking about like your therapist and outside agencies to come in. And we have some wonderful partners that come here on a daily basis, same as they do at the middle school and high school, to do that with our young adults. Mm-hmm. We do project-based learning initiatives as well. There's our outdoor classroom, and we have our aquaponics. You hear kind of a rattling in the background. That's our fridge that holds our fish food for our aquaponics, and so we will get that fired back up this year. I have also done a student garden in the past, and have our mentor time or our lighthouse timer advisory groups as well. Here's some of our accomplishments, some of the things that we highlight. Again, always trying to find ways to support whatever the need is. Very thankful for our youth service coordinator, which we were able to add last year, and for that opportunity to serve some needs in school, but also outside of school. We have Safe Harbor Nights, data-wise continuous improvement process, apprenticeships, some of the things I've already highlighted here, so I won't repeat. Our priority plan, collaborative learning structures, trying to find ways for all students to engage and want to work on our reading improvement, comprehension, fluency, and vocabulary. We are switching from reading and math inventories this year for benchmarks to MAP, and so that will be in line with K through 8, and so that will be one change for this year. Our big rocks, we're all about expectations. We're going to teach, we're going to reteach, and we're going to repeat the process over and over. We spend a lot of time each week, every Wednesday, for PLCs to look at our MTSS data, have SPS meetings, look at not just the instructional but the operational pieces of what do we need to change, adjust. If something's not working, then we need to try something different. And so we spend a lot of time having those conversations in a squad-based approach to solve those problems and to find new solutions. With that said, you're going to see several pictures of our squad. Some of these are past couple years, and left those in there because, again, want to celebrate the good work of all our squads over the past 2 or 3 years. Some of our recent and past graduates. Something we're always working on is changing the perception. A lot of people think of alternative learning and have a 70s and 80s kind of lens of what that is. And so it starts with what we're doing now, having a conversation, changing the hearts and minds, and really kind of try to show, but also to draw that picture of how we can meet young adults and how we can change to meet young adults. The rest are pictures. I did cut down my slides because I had about 45 and that went over the time limit. So here's some more pictures of Life Adventure Center. We got a staff wellness grant thanks to Ms. Francis' suggestion for a mini grant that was available.
From the co-op?
It was.
Okay.
Yep. And so we've got exercise bikes in the classrooms for staff and students. Use those as some movement opportunities as well. And a few more Life Adventure Center. Mr. Powers is a new addition to our extended family. And we will go to any length, whether it's standing on our hands and doing a handstand to whatever it takes to meet our young adults where they are. In closing, just again, want to give a shout out. Thank you to the board. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Thank you for our CNI as well as our special ed department and technology. We would not be able to do the things that we're able to do without the support to have all the logistics, but to have, the opportunity and the time to utilize those resources to serve our young adults. So thank you for all the support near and far. And so thank you all again. And if you all have any questions, fire away. I think that's it. I did cut several slides out.
Ms. Richardson?
No, I think the first time I came here, I kind of had the misconception that, Safe Harbor was for the kids who were in trouble. And I think that's what, unfortunately, I think now it's changed a little bit. People know a little bit more about it, but in reality, it's more of, it's not a traditional learning environment, and not every child thrives in a traditional learning environment. And just like the gentleman that you had on there that is now going to be a master electrician, and it just goes to show that kids can succeed outside of a 1,200 student school. They need a different setting, and I mean, my husband is one of those kids. He did not thrive in the school setting, and he made it. He's successful master electrician. It wasn't for him. It's not for every child. So I think that what you're providing for our students and making it okay for them not to be in that setting is amazing. And I wish that our community knew more about what Safe Harbor does. Visiting here the first year I was on the board was my favorite spot, and I was a Simmons student and my kids were Southside students. So the aquaponics, that was amazing. I love that. But yeah, thank you. You're doing an amazing job. And one-on-one with these kids, getting to know them and talking about the social emotional well-being it's beyond anything that really any of us can imagine, unless we have a child that's needed that extra help.
Well, thank you. It's a testimony to our squad. It's our staff that day in, day out are here to meet our kids. I've said it, I know many times already in this conversation, but they come in every day and really want and work to meet our kids where they are. So the credit goes there. It's our privilege to serve, and it's my privilege to serve along with them.
Just seeing the conversations that they had with you the day that Danny and I visited, it's a completely different relationship that you have with your students here. I'm not knocking the other schools, but it's extra, it's more, and it's definitely appreciated and noticed.
Well, we're thankful to serve. It's each environment has different structures, and we're just thankful to be able to provide the structures we're able to provide.
Thank you.
So.
And as you said frequently in your presentation, that your all's goal is to meet your young adults where they are and kind of do whatever you need to do to make them successful. And I think as a board, we just really appreciate that and appreciate the hard work and the important work that you're doing for our community and for our young adults. So I too have enjoyed my time when I've came to Safe Harbor with superintendent interviews, and it was definitely just calming family environment here when we visited, and we just appreciate all the tremendous work you guys are doing for our community.
Thank you.
Mr. Atkins?
Just one thing, when I think of our motto that we've kind of discussed with kids win, I think Safe Harbor is the epitome of that. This is where kids win. So thank you.
Thank you. It's testimony to our squad. They do a fantastic job.
Too much to add other than, just personally so grateful that we have this opportunity that we can offer to kids, not to repeat, but regular high school or the big high school is not for everybody, and I'm so glad that we have an outlet for somebody who might not thrive there. I think that this is how you break some of the cycles of not being successful in different areas of life and trying to pick my words there, but I think this is a really great example of how you're not just going to affect the 35 students that are here, but you're likely going to affect their families and just giving them that start that sometimes they need. So thank you very much, and I will be back this year now that we're all open and back to normal. So
Come anytime.
I will.
Thank you to you for your leadership. You're always one to be very self-deprecating and give credit to your entire staff. I think that you truly embody making lemonade out of lemons. Sometimes the story that sticks out is taking advantage of the whole world shutting down and going virtual. And Mr. Culbertson took that opportunity to reach out to some of our students who had dropped out and said, hey, you can finish your degree virtually now. And some of them didn't even live in Woodford County now and were able to finish their high school degree because of your intervention. And I'm very appreciative of that. And that's life-changing things for students that needed you to take that step. And very grateful for your leadership and the culture that you have created here.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We will move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Smith, would you like to take a turn in the hot seat? All right.
Well, good evening, everyone. I provided everyone with the monthly financial report for June, as well as the balance sheets and the ESSER reports. And so I'm just going to run through the fund balances very quickly on the balance sheets. The general fund balance as of June 30th is $9.473 million. The balance for our special revenue fund, which is Fund 2, that houses all the grants, is $1.234 million. The balance for the district activity fund is $387,000. The balance for the school activity fund is $383,000. The capital outlay fund balance is just a little over $1 million, $1.096 million. The building fund is $1.214 million. The construction fund is $65,000. Just bear in mind that we only transfer money into the construction fund as necessary, so there's usually not a big fund balance there.
So you call that one a flow through?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Same thing with Fund 400, that's the debt service, so we just transfer money into that fund to pay the debt service on the bond obligations. I like for that one to be zero. I'm off $34.99. So Fund 51 is the food service fund. There's $1.388 million in the food service fund. And then the daycare operations, $490,000 there. Do you guys have any questions about any of those?
I do. On the food service fund, carrying that big of a balance, is that an opportunity for us to either, I know that when we've asked Ms. Quire in the past, she has said that she, has a very open back and forth relationship with her different managers at the schools, that if they need equipment, we do have funds to replace. And then keeping in mind the new high school, is this an opportunity for us to use some of this? This has grown exponentially in just one term on the board for me. It stayed in the $270,000 to $300,000 range that whole first year that I was on the school board.
Yeah, absolutely. KDE limits the amount of money you can have in that fund. Actually, you have to keep that fund spent down to a certain limit. So it would absolutely be an opportunity for us to look at. And as a matter of fact, Courtney has already discussed, reviewing the equipment and the needs that she would have at all the schools to possibly use some of this funds, as well as if there's something we need at the new high school moving forward. So,
and I know with the new high school, one of the CTE programs that we have had that has been pretty popular is our culinary program. That might be an opportunity to upgrade to the food service type equipment in that classroom as well.
I will absolutely bring that to Ms. Quire's attention. So,
Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report and June financial report? There's a motion by Ms. McHale. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Glass. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. The next item on the agenda is the opportunity for audience or public comment. And Mr. Rob Williams has signed up. Rob, if you want to have a seat, you can just use the microphone just like they have. Yeah, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Yes, and we have 3 minutes set up for each individual comment, and Ms. McHale will start her timer whenever you're ready.
All right. Madam Chairwoman, I rise to comment on agenda item number 9M as in Mary. Good evening. My name is Rob Williams. I lead the Woodford County High School Girls Lacrosse Parent Group. I'm speaking as a parent of both the current freshman and junior tonight who play spring sports. First off, thank you to the board for our startup funds last year. This past season was our first year competing as an official school sport, and 31 girls from the middle and high school that normally would not have competed in a school sport were on our team. We won our local district in the Commonwealth Lacrosse League tournament, and several players competed in the tournament all-star game. I have heard many residents state that, quote, we don't need new athletic fields since we have those already at County Park. Several spring sports utilize the turf field at Community Stadium. However, priority and primary use, as it's quoted, is granted to the Kings Hammer Soccer Club through an agreement with the Parks and Recreation Board who manage that facility. Section 2 of that agreement states the following, and I quote, the subject property is being leased to WISA BSC, now known as Kings Hammer, to manage its use for both recreational and competitive soccer purposes and reasonably related soccer purposes, with priority and primary use to be afforded to WISA BSC for activities from December 1st to June 15th of each year. To schedule games and practices, we must coordinate with Kings Hammer Soccer Club, the Parks and Recreation staff, other Woodford County Public Schools sports, and other parties pursuant to this agreement. Generally, the Woodford County Public Schools sports are allotted the field during weekdays for open practices until 6 p.m., and lacrosse games are only played on Friday nights, subject to weather and availability. Excluding our preseason tournament and our end-of-year league tournament, we were able to schedule 5 regular season home games last year, and we played 4 of them. The current Community Stadium field use agreement expires on July 30th, 2023. I reached out to several community leaders in recent months, but I have received no confirmation as to whether or not this agreement will be renewed with the Kings Hammer Soccer Club or not. I know that tonight the board is considering a practice field construction option to be located at the site of the new high school. We understand this is a significant capital investment, and there are many funding challenges with the new high school. Just as a note, the girls lacrosse club could both play and practice on the proposed field, given there is a 490-seat stadium included in the current design. If there is insufficient funding for this practice field, here are some other options for the board to consider. First, negotiate with the Parks and Recreation Board to secure priority scheduling at Community Stadium for Woodford County sports after June 30th, 2023 in a new agreement. More field
Sorry,
time.
that's 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'm very sorry.
Well,
If you want to wrap up.
I'll wrap up real quick. The other option is the middle school was designed for a track. It could be changed to a turf field. We appreciate your continued support. So sorry, I was just a few seconds over.
No, you're fine. Thank you. And we appreciate your comments, Mr. Williams. Thank you for coming.
As a humorous aside, I never thought I'd be across from you at the board, but just a humor there.
It's fun. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed? There's a motion by Ms. McHale and a second by Ms. Glass. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. Moving on to our regular agenda items. Is there a motion to accept the notification?
Sorry, I had one comment.
No.
on the consent
Okay, go ahead.
I was very, very pleased to see on the contracts that we have engaged with the castle for prom of 2023. So super excited that we're already thinking that far ahead, and we're going to be able to give the kids a great evening. So just in case anybody didn't see that on the agenda.
I'm glad you pointed that out. It has been wonderful. There was a large email that circulated to make sure that we knew they only had one date left to secure, and the junior class officers met and decided that was the path that they wanted to take. I think they may have surveyed their students, and very exciting for them to be able to have that opportunity again.
Yes.
And very appreciative of our community partners. Emily Downey at the Chamber of Commerce reached out and said they would like to help fundraise for prom, and just has been a very positive community experience so far. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Moving on to item A, is there a motion to accept notification of personnel matters? There's a motion by Ms. McHale. Is there a second? There's a second by Ms. Glass. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. The next item is to accept the notification of payment of bills. Is there a motion to accept notification? There's a motion by Ms. Glass. Is there a second? Second by Ms. McHale. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. The next item is to approve the meeting minutes of the June 20th, 2022 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion by Ms. Glass. Is there a second? Second by Ms. McHale. Any discussion?
Are either one of those the one that I was
It's the
not
next one.
on screen? Okay.
Yeah. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. The next item is to approve the meeting minutes of the June 23rd, 2022 and July 6th, 2022 board meeting. And actually, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion by Ms. McHale and a second by Ms. Glass. In discussion on this, I would like to ask that we amend the June 2023 minutes. Ms. Cooper, if you could amend those to add that Ms. Richardson was listening and had dialed in but was not able to be visible on screen because of her connection. So that we are compliant, she's unable to be counted for a quorum or for those votes. So if you could amend the vote counts, all of those were unanimous votes, so everything will still pass 4-0. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor of approving the minutes as discussed, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. The next item is the first in our list of alternates that we need to discuss on the high school project. Clay, do you guys want to come up, and Sarah, so that you can kind of take us through these? If there's any question, just be ready to offer any information. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good evening.
All right, so the first item is the alternate that would be terrazzo flooring. It would provide labor, materials, and equipment necessary to install the epoxy resin terrazzo flooring as indicated in the drawings and as specified. And this would obviously comply with all contract document requirements. Is there a motion to approve this alternate?
I'll approve it for discussion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second by Ms. McHale. And in discussion, so if you guys could explain to us the cost on this item, and if we could please talk in total project costs so that we make sure that we're all on the same page looking at this. I think that the alternate list originally had just hard costs, and the 20% additional for the soft cost was not included. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have the numbers with?
Not with soft cost.
Okay.
20% on it, though.
Yeah. Logan.
million, then it would be $1.2 million.
Right,
Right.
Right.
okay, so,
So alternate number 2 was for terrazzo flooring in the corridors, common spaces, cafeteria, and those areas, and all the rest of the school was either getting VCT or carpet. This alternate came in at about $20.40 a square foot for that terrazzo, which is what we would expect for a terrazzo floor to come in. So it was a good number, but it's definitely not something that you need to have in the school, because a VCT floor is a good floor, will last a long time, has the same kind of maintenance. A terrazzo floor will last a lot longer, but it's really up to you as to the value of that when you have other things you may want to use.
what is the number that
The
it,
number is $891,025 plus 20%.
plus 25%?
20.
20. So that's an additional 178,205.
How much longer? When you say it lasts a lot longer, what does that mean?
A terrazzo will last the lifetime of the building.
So 50 years?
So 50 years, that terrazzo will
Hopefully.
be there. That's right. A VCT floor will need to be replaced in about 20 years, 25 years. It depends on, the amount of traffic, in corridors, it's probably gonna be replaced more often, whereas in classrooms, it has a different kind of traffic pattern in it.
And can you remind me how much the cost is currently in the building for
How
that
much is already
flooring?
allocated for
How much is
flooring?
allocated?
We don't have just the flooring
You could give
breakout.
a total for all the flooring though for the other 2 bid packages.
And I would also say the middle school is VCT. And we know that we're coming up on 20 years in that building, and the floors still look really good there.
That's typically what is used in VCT. It's unusual to have a school that has terrazzo, just to be honest.
And so this floor is VCT?
This
It
is
is.
VCT, absolutely.
It's more common to have VCT. Terrazzo has a longer life. It should last the life of the building. At some point though, you have to come back in, usually about 25 years, and do a regrind and refinish the floor. So it's not like there's no maintenance to it at all.
So if we,
It still has to be waxed, the whole 9
That's
yards, just
right.
like a VCT
Yeah,
floor.
it still has the same maintenance, so
So
you
so
don't
that-
have to wax a terrazzo floor, but if you want it to look shiny and clean, you do have to wax it for that look.
What is the price difference between the terrazzo and the VCT?
$1,069,205, approximately.
That's the price difference?
Yeah,
That is the price difference, so
69,000. How does it work with a project like this if we want to set priorities? Obviously, we're not purchasing flooring until we're almost finished. Can we list this as if we come within the,
unfortunately with terrazzo, I'm gonna say no,
Okay.
because we do have to recess the concrete slab
I see.
to put the terrazzo in, so, this is just, a fraction of an inch, you have the concrete slab the same dimension everywhere. With terrazzo's a 1/4 inch thick, so you do have to do a slight recess, so you really don't wanna come back and do it later.
see.
It is something you wanna decide when you're at the beginning of a project.
All right. My personal thoughts would be that we table this agenda item and discuss some of the others and then come back. If any other board member has strong feelings on this.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's over $1 million right there in difference, and we have other wants and needs, so I definitely think that it's something we need to consider. You can do a lot with $1 million.
You can do a lot with $1 million, I agree.
And the extra money that we came up with when the bids sold, when the bonds sold. I definitely think we need to revisit it, yeah, and talk about it, because, I mean, they're pretty much saying that, you know, the terrazzo is an upgrade, right? Most schools don't do terrazzo flooring, is that what I'm understanding you all say?
Yeah.
The
It
majority of them
is an
go with-
upgraded floor.
Yeah.
I mean, schools do them when they can, but this floor, the VCT, is the
It's
typical
still
floor,
excellent
and it's a
flooring.
good floor.
Yeah, okay,
It's a true and proven floor that's been
Right.
been used for eons.
okay.
All right, Grant, we are able to table that and come back to it later in the meeting, right? Yeah. That would be my preference. Is that okay with
fine
you?
with me.
Oh, okay. Then let's move on to item F, which is the geothermal HVAC system, providing labor, materials, and equipment necessary to install geothermal HVAC system as indicated on the drawings and as specified. Is there a motion to approve this item? This is not one that came with a recommendation based on the repayment schedule and the, on your recommendations for either of you.
I'll vote to approve so we can discuss it.
Okay, and is there a second? Second by Ms. Glass.
I'll move to, yeah.
You're fine. Anything, what are your thoughts?
Just my thoughts on this one, and we've talked about this several times over at this point, the return on the investment doesn't really support an additional, this was, I think, $1.2 million, if I'm recalling.
I think it's more than that.
Correctly?
It'll be 3.4.
3.4, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
3.4. Yeah, so for $3.4 million on something that doesn't take any less time to maintain. And if I'm remembering, the way that we would have to dig for it could impede further expansion later on if we needed.
On those legs.
Yeah.
So we had designed that geothermal to go in places on the site other than where you were hoping that you might expand. So we weren't putting it, below
Okay.
where we were expecting the additions to go. But it would if, you want to put something else on the site there. I mean, you can't build over the top
Over
of
it,
it.
yeah.
Well, and I think, to your point, Ms. McHale, when your experts are telling you the return on your investment doesn't pan out over the life of the bonds or even of the schools,
Yeah.
that a $3.4 million upgrade is tough to
Yeah.
justify. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor of approving the geothermal, say aye. Opposed? Nay.
Wait, approving it? Oh, okay, you're right, sorry.
Okay, the motion was to approve it.
Okay.
So I had to say it that way. So the motion fails 4-0. Yeah. All right, the next item looked at me like I had a third eye. The next item on the agenda is alternate number 4, the road connection to Tyrone Pike. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion by Ms. Glass, and I will second that. The total, or the cost on this one is how much?
$404,000 with soft cost.
That's total?
Yes.
Okay. My personal feelings on this are that we should absolutely have as many avenues of moving into and out of the school as we can to alleviate the traffic congestion. So this would definitely be on my approved alternates list.
This would also, is this the piece that we would receive some reimbursement on as well?
That's the next
The
alternate
next
for the
piece.
right-of-way work.
Gotcha.
All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting alternate 4, the road connection to Tyrone Pike, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. Item H is alternate 5, the Tyrone Pike right-of-way work, providing labor, materials, and equipment necessary to make improvements to the Tyrone Pike entrance in the right-of-way as indicated on the drawings. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion by Ms. Glass, and I will second that. And this one is the one that's kind of a no-brainer to take because we're reimbursed for the cost and it will help with traffic.
Correct.
Correct? All right. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. Item I is an owner-preferred paging system, providing the preferred paging system by Telecor as outlined in the specifications. What is the cost on this one, Clay?
$88,800.
$88,800. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion by Ms.
Richardson.
Yes. Ms. Richardson and a second by Ms. Glass. Any discussion on this item?
So I think just to refresh anybody's memory that maybe didn't hear it the first time around, I think this gives us some standardization within, was it 4 schools?
Yes,
I think.
I believe it was 4 schools.
Yeah.
So this is a system that's been used elsewhere, and this would start to standardize that system
Yeah.
and allow all paging on all the schools that are on this system.
I think that just
So-
furthers the safety.
So Mr. Rayburn, do you want to weigh in on this? Do you have,
That was one of Mr. Gibson's goals, that he had actually started getting that implemented in as many schools as possible. So, yeah, Mr. Rayburn may know something about it, but Mr. Gibson had kind of led the charge with that. And, you can see some of the options it would give you to be able to page 4 or 5 schools at one time.
what is the advantage? Because, so in thinking about this, if we have an early dismissal day, we don't let out elementaries and the high school and middle school at the same time, so that wouldn't be the same.
It would be any sort of lockdown situations that we could make one page and address those 4 or 5 schools. Escaped convict.
Oh, we've had that.
Unfortunately, those types of scenarios, possible severe weather, that you could just one call, just one page would take care of that.
So you feel like it is worth the investment at $88,000?
I would love to see where we're at the end.
Okay.
Is there any advantage from like a
Networking perspective or from maintenance perspective.
The only thing that I can say is that it would be continuity between the schools, which means we're having one vendor that we have to go through between multiple schools. That would make it easier. And as far as networking stuff, if it's already working in 4 of our schools already, there's no other issues that would be at play that would cause it to not work at the high school. So I think maintenance-wise, it would be a lot easier because we already have 4 systems in place to know about it versus a brand new one that we might have trouble with that we don't know about.
Okay. Any further discussion? Then all those in favor of approving alternate 11 for the Telecor paging system, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Just for the record, this is such a small amount, it could very well be addressed out of the tech budget instead of out of our bonding potential. So those are things kind of like what we were talking about with the with our cafeteria overages. We may be able to find it in tech budget or somewhere else to pay for this without having to address our bonds.
Okay, and just to clarify for the public, we did approve alternate number 1, which was the cafeteria addition and the wall to separate those areas a little bit more functionally. That was approved at our last meeting. And which other alternates were accepted? The right-of-way work for the other 2, Schoolhouse Road and were there any others that we took action?
The other 2 were not.
Okay,
And then, owner preferred alternates.
Oh,
That
and
didn't
the
cost
hardware,
much.
right?
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Grant, can I move the M&N up next, or do I need to just follow?
You can take the agenda in whatever order you want.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and do item M while we have you guys up here. And that is the athletic practice field and track. I will say that, as we mentioned earlier, when we went to Baird last week for the bond sale and the bonds sold as competitively as they did, this opened up an opportunity for us to look at this, which has been one of the biggest feedback comments that we have received from our community is that it doesn't have the track and the practice field that we have a track attached to the current high school property, and that we wouldn't be able to offer all the same opportunities at the new high school as we were able to at the existing high school. And I think it's very exciting that we are in a position to be able to offer that. And I enthusiastically move that we add a turf practice field and track with the bleachers and lights as described in the agenda item to the current high school. Is there a second? There's a motion and second. Is there any further discussion?
Is there any way in that, if we build that, to be able to go ahead and include a concession stand and bathroom with that?
Is that something that you could get prices for us, or do you have estimated prices on any of your previous projects that you could let us know a rough number?
I don't have any numbers off of the top of my head on that, but what I would say is this is kind of looking at it as an SD submittal to kind of get it and start talking about it. And I think as we kind of go through the SD and the DDs, we can do.
You're going to have to not acronym.
I'm sorry. Yes, architects use a lot of acronyms too. So, schematic design.
Okay.
Is kind of, we just based this on the master planning of the site we had done.
Okay.
As we go into design development and construction documents, we can explore adding restrooms and a concession stand to that and get some pricing once we know more about what you're hoping to get there. But this is just kind of the preliminary design of that, and the details would be the next step.
To do that while we're doing this than to try to come back in and do it later.
It would be cheaper to do it now than later, and we would definitely can explore that.
Right.
And I think that is something that in our first year on the board,
Yes.
We looked at adding one at the middle school to the sports fields there. And if I recall correctly, it was about $350,000 to add a 4-stall restroom facility and like 600 square feet of concessions area with plumbing. It was extremely expensive, given if you think about a house.
Right. And I have no idea what utilities were already in place for that. I know we've included some rough-in utilities for a future field house that are a part of the base bid. So we would pull off of that, and hopefully it would not be that much, but I just don't know.
Sure.
We would want to investigate, and with these prices today and things, it's just something we're going to have to look into further.
I do think Ms. Richardson's point is very valid, and, with the comment from Mr. Williams thinking about it will be our track kids, it will be our football team, it will be our boys and girls lacrosse teams, it will be soccer, boys and girls soccer, all of them having an opportunity to use this field, as well as our band for marching band practice, and having restroom facilities there does seem like a really good idea, and maybe the spot to offset the terrazzo if we have to make that choice.
And if I'm correct, right now, Ryan, you can tell me, because you have kids that run track, but we can't host track meets now, can't we, right now?
No.
So this track that we've been discussing is capable of hosting track meets. I do recall that. So that gives our kids even more opportunities to be able to participate in track at home, where they've never done before.
And to host events,
Which is a big deal.
Mr. Raven, are you able to show the attachment? Are you hooked up to the screen? That would be great. I think if we could show the rendering for the track, that would be helpful.
And I think also, we talked about the favorable bid sale. I think we also had some favorable news on the excavation, if people hadn't heard about that.
We did, yes. Clay, you can, I believe it was, we had put in a placeholder on the excavation package of $10 million, and the bid actually came in at 5.7.
733.
Yep.
So that's more good news.
Absolutely, that has given us
Yeah.
that additional $3.5 or $4 million to use on the project for the alternates that get the school where we want it to be for our kids. Thank you.
Excuse me.
KSBA changed there. I mean, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty slick.
And what kind of, so there are different types of track surfaces, right? What are where does this one fall in the range of?
I really wish I had my landscape architect here to really tell you about the differences in track surfaces. This is a cushion surface, so it is a rubberized surface that goes over the asphalt. I can't really say more in terms of what it is, but it's a good surface. I know that. I just can't really tell you the exact details on it.
Okay.
But it is a rubberized cushion surface.
And it looks like it has lines that you can actually see.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
that's
and it
good.
would come with all the proper lines for being able to host events.
And what about the lighting? And so the bleachers, it looks like 490 seats, bleachers, as well as a shot put and discus throwing pad.
Yes.
So, and there's a pole vault and triple jump, which I don't know if we have those at the current high school. Ryan, do you know? Do we have the triple jump and pole vault? I know we do practice pole vaulting, so they've got a pit.
You want to put yours in?
That would happen to me as well. In fact, it did happen at a meeting one night. I could not get logged in.
Look, it's not letting me log in. Although we did try it out. I could get in the other day, so.
Doesn't that figure?
And nothing like trying to type when everybody's watching.
Also measuring your speed.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Words per
No
minute
problem.
and accuracy.
Yeah, completely. It doesn't
While
like me either.
While she works on
Well,
this,
can they just plug
Yeah, I
into
was gonna
you?
say, I was gonna use my computer for see if you can plug in his.
uh,
It doesn't like me either tonight, and I'm over there.
can you guys talk a little bit about how large the parking lots will be at the new school versus what we currently offer?
Try both of them. The first one, the two
Oh,
pictures.
you are really testing my memory.
Yeah, there we go.
I do not remember off the top of my head what the high school parking count is, but I know it's greater. I mean,
It's
Yeah.
significantly larger.
we have a bus loop and student parking, and we also had included in the master plan some expanded future parking for how that student parking lot may lay out if you needed additional parking. I have a sketch, a small tiny little bit of a master plan showing how that might grow in the future if you need more spots.
Okay. Apparently, so we have parent loop and visitor parking, and then
down.
we have a bus and staff parking lot, and
Yeah.
then we have a separate student
That's right.
parking lot too. You wanna pass that down? All right. Then, is there any further discussion on the track And practice field? Thank you.
Everybody done with the picture?
Do what?
Done with the picture?
I think so. Did everyone get to see that? Okay. Thank you, Angel. All right, then, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. And Mr. Smith, do you want to talk about the revised BG1? Thank you all very much. I'm not sure if he will need you, so.
Probably, so just stay nearby. Because they all worked in tandem to update the revised BG1 so that we have updated construction costs, updated financing costs on the plan as we currently have it. Line 1, the total construction cost, just when we revised this, we kind of felt like terrazzo and geothermal were still up in the air, so we did not include those alternates in that construction cost, but it does include all of the other alternates that you just approved. So just know that that is built into that number. Lines 1 through 18 talk about all those construction costs and financing costs that have been updated. I'll just point out line number 19. You can see based on the alternates as selected and the favorable bond issue rating that we received, we listed out, Ms. Mercich listed out the additional proceeds that we have available to do some of these other items that we're discussing, tracks and those types of things at $5.1 million. Obviously, you know, things could happen during the construction process that we might need some of that for other items, but that's what's available as of right now, $5.1 million. We did add in the builder's risk insurance that we need to carry during the process in the event that something were to happen, that we would need an insurance policy. And then on the right side shows the funds available and where those are coming from. With a total project cost as of right now of $77,571,691.50. That's with all the approved alternates. That is without terrazzo flooring and without geothermal.
What are your thoughts, Mr. Smith, on the terrazzo?
Personally, I feel like that's a lot of cost it would take a really long time to get that cost back to put a terrazzo floor in. That's my opinion when most buildings have this VCT flooring in it. And if it's waxed and properly maintained, it'll last a really, really long time, so.
Thank you. And obviously with you serving as the facilities director too, you have a dog in that fight. And how much, have we determined how much on the BG1 we've already paid out?
Yeah, we're really close to $2 million that we've already paid out of our general fund that will be refunded once we get the bond proceeds, that we will refund the general fund.
So that puts our contingency fund where, after that's repaid?
So after we defeased the debt that was approved at the last board meeting, our fund balance is really close to $9.4 million with some change. I believe, if my memory serves, we're going to wind up defeasing approximately $2.4 million worth of debt from the general fund. We will then be reimbursed $2 million back to the general fund that we've already paid out in architect and construction costs already on the project. So our fund balance in the general fund will go down about $400,000 after the bond issue.
That's very good news. And that is also something that I feel like we have been receptive to community input. One of the things that we heard is maybe you should pay off your debt so that you could borrow more, and defeasing debt is just a fancy way of saying we're paying bond issues ahead of time, which is something that I feel like the community has asked us to do, and I think it's a good use of taxpayer money, paying those down now and not paying interest later, and allowing us to free up bonding capacity on this project. Mr. Chenoweth, did you have something? No? Okay. All right. Then we have a motion, no, is there a motion to approve the BG1 for the new Woodford County High School project? There's a motion by Ms. McHale and a second by Ms. Glass. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0, and I think that's very exciting for all of our students and staff at Woodford County. Thank you all for your help, and thank you, Kelly, and your partners at Baird for everything that you did to steward us through this process and to get us new and current numbers on bonding capacity multiple times, and keeping our community up to date on where things stand for the district. Your help has been very much appreciated. Okay, so then going back to the terrazzo flooring. I think. Gotcha. No, I'm just kidding. You can sit down. All those in favor of approving the terrazzo flooring, say aye. Opposed? Nay. The motion fails 0-4. Okay. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate all of your help. The next item is live streaming board meetings. And I asked for this one to be updated or to be added to our agenda so that we could get the updates on the new streaming and virtual attendance requirements from Mr. Chenoweth. Can you let us know the statutory changes that have changed regarding virtual attendance, virtual meetings, and then also any changes on public comment or streaming of meetings?
Sure. One of the changes that was made permanent, some of the special legislation that happened during the pandemic expired, and then one of those changes that was brought back in the last session was to allow public agencies to have essentially entirely virtual meetings, that you can have all of the members participating from remote locations, and the notice has to tell the public how they can access it remotely. So whether that's Facebook Live, whether that's YouTube, whether that's, some agencies have kind of their own streaming on their own website, but it would allow you to, on your notice, rather than identifying a primary physical location like the board meeting room where people could come and watch the big screen, that you can just tell the people how they can watch the meeting. If you have two members participating from the same location, that has to be deemed a kind of a hybrid meeting where the public would be allowed to be wherever those two members are gathered together. Because there is a notion that the little aside conversations that can happen between two board members have to be visible to the public. So if any two members are in the same physical location, that's the primary physical location where the public has to be allowed in.
Okay.
But otherwise, they're allowing fully virtual meetings for the first time as not emergency legislation. It's truly, you can notice a meeting as a video teleconference with the public watching remotely.
Okay. But you still have to provide a physical location?
You do not. That's the change. You previously always had to identify the primary physical location where the public could come and observe, and that's what has gone away. Now, if you provide the public a primary virtual location, the YouTube stream, the Facebook Live, whatever, that is the way that the public is allowed to participate and watch. So this did away with the requirement for a primary physical location.
Okay. And then the guidance on the statutory change for public comment?
Interestingly, just by point of reference, it's maybe only interesting to me as an attorney and not to anybody else. But I'll say it here, and it's obviously being recorded. That change was made to a school law statute, not to the Open Meetings Act. So it applies to school boards only, but it is like somebody couldn't file an Open Meetings Act complaint with the Attorney General's office because it's not part of the Open Meetings Act, it's just in Chapter 160. That doesn't excuse you from complying with it. It's just an interesting way that the General Assembly decided to single out school boards to require public comment, and no other public agencies have to meet that requirement. So it's in Chapter 160 instead of Chapter 61. So that may only be interesting to me, but now I've shared it with everybody else in the room. It just requires 15 minutes of public comment during a regular board meeting. My advice would be, even though it's not specifically required, a meeting like tonight where you rescheduled a regular meeting. You don't want to be accused of having rescheduled a regular meeting into a special meeting just to avoid public comment. So I would recommend if you reschedule a regular meeting, you still allow the 15 minutes of public comment to honor the spirit of that statute rather than technically the letter of the statute. There is, the statute specifically says you can still enforce all of your other meeting rules. So that's being interpreted by everyone that you can still impose the 3 to 5 minute restriction per speaker. I've already heard of at least in one district where a citizen has decided that they're going to be the first one to challenge that, and that if they're the only one that signs up to speak, they are entitled to the full 15 minutes. And if you dare try to interrupt them, you'll be buying a lawsuit. To me, that's, if somebody wants to take the full 15 minutes, my advice is to let it, because that's not worth picking a battle over. But hopefully with good public engagement, you have more than one person signed up to speak at most regular meetings, and that's not even an issue that you have to wrestle with.
So this does not cover special meetings or work sessions. It's just for regularly scheduled.
I can't answer that with a yes or no. Some boards schedule, like you all used to, 2 meetings a month where there was a work meeting and a business action meeting. Under the law, both of those are regular meetings. So if you had 2 meetings a month built into your schedule, you would have to allow 15 minutes of comment at both of those meetings. If you schedule a work session as a special meeting, just occasionally you have a work session that's a special meeting, you would not have to have public comment at that meeting.
Or like tonight with having a special meeting to have just
Right, when you have a
an
special
executive
meeting
session.
in tandem with a regular meeting, like you sometimes do, you have a special meeting an hour before the regular meeting, you would not have to have public comment at both of those meetings.
All right. Are there any other questions from the board? Are you, Mr. Adkins? All right, thank you, Mr. Chenoweth. I just wanted to make sure we were fully complying. I know those statutes, some of them went into effect on the 15th, and wanted to make sure that we had that addressed. Item L is creation of a position. I'm sorry?
SK as well.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Creation of a position, you can come up, Mr. Smith, but Mr. Smith and I have had some discussion about this. We have surveyed the staff at their request, and right now we currently pay many of our staff once a month. The staff have identified that they would like to be paid, twice a month, every 2 weeks, or the 15th, 30th, whatever. So with that being done and adding personnel as well, we're seeing the need for another clerk. We've seen significant turnover in our payroll department. And I mean, they're just leaving for easier jobs because we just keep adding and adding and adding. So I'll let Mr. Smith speak to that as well.
Yeah, quite simply, it's a supply and demand issue. There's a greater demand than I can supply through the finance department. And so we just would humbly request the addition of another payroll clerk to add some ability to do some of these initiatives with additional paychecks that we're going to pay more often, and hopefully help with the, as he mentioned, the turnover issue that we're having. And it's simply just the volume level, I think, with those positions. We need to add some flexibility there to be able to maximize our capacity.
Okay.
And it is our goal to move forward with that, with the change in payroll next year. We already had everything in place, put in place this year. So obviously, once we got the feedback, it was a little too late to change. It would have been a scramble to make sure that was done. We're having new teachers that are having to go a whole month, almost a month and 2 months before they get paid. And that's kind of a hindrance to keeping people as well, even at the teaching level. So we're hoping that by listening to our staff, that this will give us the opportunity to, a good hello means you don't have to have a bad goodbye. So picked that up last week at a training, by the way.
It does
Yeah, it
kind of
does,
sound like a country
It
song.
does. So,
I like it.
yeah.
All right, then I would move that we create the payroll position as described by Mr. Adkins and Mr. Smith. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second by Ms. McHale. Is there any further discussion?
I assume when we say next year, you mean next school year and not next calendar year.
Yeah, it'd be, our fiscal year goes from
So
July to July.
So
yeah.
July 1st
July 1st
is
of
when it
next
would go
year,
into
yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
How many payroll clerks do you have right now? 2.5, and this would be a full-time position, so it would be going up to 3.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's for approximately 700 employees.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they also do have other duties like you.
And that's the
mentioned.
thing, yeah, we just keep adding things to them, and it's, yeah.
Sure. All right, there's a motion and second. Is any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. The next item is the description of the superintendent goals, and we met in executive session with Mr. Adkins and conducted the formative evaluation and established the goals that we will share now publicly. Goal number 1 is to develop and implement strategies to close achievement gaps in subpopulations as well as the overall student body post-COVID. Item 2, or goal number 2, is to develop a formal communication strategy to promote open dialogue between central office and the superintendent with teachers and all staff. Goal number 3 is to update and reconvene, if necessary, the DFP committee to reflect the building of the new high school and address the best plan for the existing high school. So those are the 3 goals that the board has put forward for Mr. Adkins to focus on, in addition to all of the other criteria that are included in a superintendent's evaluation each year. There is nothing noted under old business or communications. In discussion items, we have the current high school asset facilities report, and it looks like we have the K-Fix report attached here. I think that Ms. Springate had originally requested this item be added as a standing agenda item. Grant's nodding, so I feel like I'm saying the right thing. Is there anything that any board member would like to discuss on this?
I will explain real quick. K-Fix, basically, it's another one of those acronyms. I can't tell you exactly what the acronym is, but basically, a group or architects will come in, engineers will come in and evaluate our facilities. And we usually have to work out a cost for that. But then that information is used for our district facility plan. And that group will also help lead district facility planning meetings and that type of thing. So basically, that's what a K-Fix is. It's just an evaluation of our existing facilities.
And how often is that completed?
Is it yearly or every 4
No,
years?
it's every 4 years. Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
How old is this one?
It's not that old, but the number 1 item on our district facility plan now, at least 3 consecutive plans going, has been the new high school.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, things have changed so much that we need to circle the wagons on the district facilities planning committee and reevaluate. And I think that's also going to be a good source of information for the board in developing a plan for the existing high school and in light of moving to a new high school with the facilities that have changed even just in the last couple of weeks for the better.
Ms. Mearsick and I had discussed it, but when a BG1 is created for a project, it comes off the DFP, which is your district facilities plan. So we may be missing out on some opportunities for assistance by not updating our DFP.
Well, and looking at this, the item that was attached, the values are not reflective of the market today at all. Looking at the cost, you can tell that the numbers that they used for this K-Fix are no longer accurate. So there's definitely a need to amend and bring that up to
I think
date.
Ms. Cooper was saying the last one was done December of 2020.
Has it been that long? Wow.
Yeah.
The facility plan was approved in June, I think, of last year.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
seeing that come in, I think, as I came in.
Right. Yep, that changed right before you joined us. All right. Anything further? All right, thank you, Mr. Atkins, for that description. Item B is the ESSER 3 funds and the stakeholder input. Ryan, could you, I think this was put on to give some clarity on the input that we did seek. I'm sorry? On the process that you went through and the information that you gathered to develop the ESSER spending plan.
It may be best, I'll just display slides I'd put together.
Thank you.
So I had compiled this, and I'll enlarge here in just a second. June of 21, right as Mr. Hawkins was exiting, Mr. Atkins was coming in, sent it to cabinet, and then he had forwarded it to you all. But I think I wanted to display this because I think the first one here in particular, if you read over there to the left, just the process of how we did this. I'll give you just a second there.
To all parents, all staff, and students.
Grades
So
8
this is-
through 11, yes.
So this was a,
Higher level
and
students.
I remember we discussed obviously not sending it to the younger kids
Right.
because obviously they don't have a ton of access to their emails or
Right.
much interest in surveys regarding ESSER funds.
And then on the right, the form itself just had very brief explanation. We did put categories, as you can see, what they could select from. So what this generated from, we knew that there would be a third round coming. And we were told, KDE level, that part of it would be stakeholder input and that you had to have a plan. But there wasn't much clarity on what that plan was or how that stakeholder input was to be collected. So we did this just proactively, put this together, sent that out. That plan then later, that was the template that we used from CKEC that provided some direction. Here's what can go into your plan, and just follow that. This goes on then to show, we won't go through it all today, but I then broke down all of the survey responses by those categories, parent, staff, and student, to show how the responses broke down. And then as you could see from the form itself on the right-hand side, also listed out all the other or additional comments that came in. So I'm happy to resend this to all of you if you'd like, just to look back over it, but I just thought that visual was good to show the process.
I think that's very helpful. Thank you. And yes, please, if you would send that
Sure.
to all of the board. Thank you, Ryan. All right, is there any further discussion on ESSER 3 funds? Then is there a need for an executive session? And is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion by Ms. McHale, and I will second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 4-0. Thank you all for coming.